my point is that these social media platforms wield so much influence, and the fact that this Elon Musk guy has come in and decided that he wants to take it over, it's being seen as a serious threat. And I want people to understand that this thing has tentacles. It's not just about social media. It's about power. It's about influence. It's about the information wars. It's about our cultural wars going on right now. And Twitter is just one of those tools, one of those instruments that has been used to bludgeon us, to suppress people's points of views, and to make it seem like this is how people think, when that's actually not the case. I don't know if you saw this video clip of this Nigerian artist, Dior. Sorry, not Dior, Ruger. He was performing this Dior song on stage. Have you seen that clip?
Of Ruger doing what?
He was performing this song on stage, right? And this girl comes and grabs at his genitals, literally. Like she attempts to grab.
Is she a fan or
it was a fan?
Dancer?
No, it was a fan. And like,
wow.
And it wasn't like tap or anything. It was almost like it was an assault, essentially.
My goodness.
Like and it was like very, you could tell she was probably wasted. Tried to grab it, very, and it was so bad that the guy stopped singing and he looked at her and he walked off the stage. It was embarrassing now.
Wow, that's terrible.
So it was one of those video clips that were making the rounds on Twitter, and I'd commented on it, and I think what I'd said was, I was like, if it was me, I would have punched off her arm. Like, I would have, if someone's trying to assault me, I'm going to defend myself. And I guess maybe because I somehow got entrapped in one of their algorithms. The minute I tweeted it suspended my account.
What's the problem? Why are you stressing my life, for Christ's sake?
For 24 hours. And of course, I'm not tripping. It's Twitter. I don't need to. Twitter is not by force, and they can run their space however they want to run it. But the point I'm trying to make is that Twitter, social media platforms, a lot of them, they have all these algorithms where the conversations, they tend to skew the conversations in certain ways. And this is where I want to talk about Elon Musk. He's had his concerns about freedom of speech on internet platforms, and recently he acquired, I think, 9.2% of Twitter, which is one of the biggest platforms. I think it's top 20 biggest platforms. I believe they have over 300 million accounts. And he came in to talk about how he feels like, you know what, I'll just play the clip. This is Elon Musk on his on his sense of how to treat a public platform like Twitter.
My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
But you've described yourself.
I don't care about the economics at all.
Okay, that's cool to hear.
Yeah, it's about to go down.
Yeah, so basically he's coming out saying that he wants to buy Twitter and he wants to make it a private company. Because as we all know, we've all seen this bias with a lot of these social media platforms. There are people that have gotten, like I told you about myself, I got suspended for 24 hours for something that I considered to be benign. Me protecting myself against a hypothetical sexual assault.
What's the problem? Why are you stressing my life, for Christ's sake?
You know what I'm saying? I guess because maybe they saw Punch and her in it, they suspended me. And they do this all the time with all sorts of other topics that people have strong opinions on. A lot of people have been getting banned. There's this other...
But I think for me the issue is not so much, or not only that they're banning people, but it's that it's selective. So, you have people who are trans activists, for example, that on a daily basis are sending death threats to J.K. Rowling, and nobody does anything about it. but someone says something about defending themselves, and immediately they're banned or suspended. So it's the bias.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So, are you aware of their justification for why they enforce those rules that way?
No, what's the justification?
The justification is they do it based on this power dynamic scale.
What do you mean by that?
They say because the trans community is the most is the minority, and they're like, what's the term that they
marginalized
use? They're marginalized. Their actions and their words towards someone like J.K. Rowling, who's rich and is not a trans, it doesn't have the same kind of harm as someone with her kind of power doing it towards a marginalized group. And that's what they use to justify these actions that they take. And it's not just Twitter. It's
what they
Facebook,
call punching up
down
versus punching down.
Exactly.
It's not going, you know what I'm saying? It ain't going, nah, it ain't going to work.
Punching up.
So is this something that Twitter has actually said that this is their policy?
They've talked about it. They haven't. You see, and this is part of what Elon Musk also got into. He talked about the fact that they say different things, but they're not fully transparent with how the algorithms work.
Transparency, yeah.
And I'm going to play this quick clip where he talks about. Okay, I think this is the clip. Hold on.
And a good sign as to whether there's free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like. And if that is the case, then we have free speech. And it's damn annoying when someone you don't like says something you don't like. That is a sign of a healthy, functioning free speech situation.
Elon Musk had talked about how the algorithm isn't transparent, and that if he was to take it over, he would actually make the algorithm for how they do these rules and what you get to say and he will make it transparent. He'll put it on online for everyone to see, so that at least we all know and we understand. The problem with Twitter is that they don't make any of that public.
It's very opaque. It's
very opaque
and arbitrary, because they change it overnight and you don't know what's going on.
You really don't know. And there's so many people that have gotten banned. There's so many people and shadow banned. Exactly. They have these mechanisms that they have where they can promote certain people, and they can kind of suppress. That's
they won't suspend you.
They will suppress.
You just be suppressed.
But then you don't even know, and sometimes you don't know unless someone within the company tells you. And you have these people in Twitter, and it's funny because I've done an episode about this. I talked about how Twitter is not a real place, and the reason why. I think I talked about how it's usually this vocal minority of people that go on Twitter and they try to proliferate their ideas, which has its own values too, right? People that maybe may not have a voice in the real world, they get to at least spread it on a platform like Twitter. But what ends up happening is that only this small minority of people are the most vocal, and then usually those turn into something else. It turns into policy changes, where politicians want to be activists on behalf of these people, and they start making tweaks in society. And it's happened. It's been happening. Don't get me wrong, when I say Twitter is not a real place, I don't consider it to be a real place because it's not representative of necessarily how the world works.
Yes, it is not representative.
Twitter has over 300 million users, and apparently, from what I heard, I think there's only about 20% of active users. So that already tells you,
even a smaller percentage of that will actually be
representative,
prioritized at any point in time.
You see where I'm going with this? So even though it's not a real place, it doesn't mean it still doesn't have its effects on society. It's had its effect for sure. And Twitter is one of these. Again, when I was going back to this whole, going back to what I said earlier about cracks in the matrix, one of the instruments that's used to wield power and wield influence are these social media platforms that the powers have used. And Twitter happens to be one of the more powerful ones. When most people want to get their news, they go on Twitter. When I wanted to confirm what happened with Will Smith, first place I went to Twitter. All these news publications, they're all still operating because of Twitter, because no one is waiting to get their newspaper in the news anymore the next morning. If you want to know, you go right there, you find out. So all of them, all these news publications, a lot of their journalists, they're all on Twitter. That's where they get to like put out their articles and put out information as quickly as possible. So my point is that these social media platforms wield so much influence, and the fact that this Elon Musk guy has come in and decided that he wants to take it over, it's being seen as a serious threat. And I want people to understand that this thing has tentacles. It's not just about social media. It's about power. It's about influence. It's about the information wars. It's about our cultural wars going on right now. And Twitter is just one of those tools, one of those instruments that has been used to bludgeon us, to suppress people's points of views, and to make it seem like this is how people think, when that's actually not the case. And it was just when I saw that clip, I'm like, wow, she didn't realize what she said. She said it is our job to control what.
It's when your subconscious is speaking.
It was like a Freudian slip. She just said it. And wow, when she said that, I was like, man, you know that this thing has tentacles within our political structures.
The entire establishment, right? And they're all, they all go hand in hand with each other because they kind of sustain each other. You can't have politics without media. You can't have media without politics. And
same with Hollywood, which is why Hollywood too has a lot of influence in our politics too.
Exactly. It's a very incestuous relationship. And it's very clear why the traditional media is all up in arms. They're all, running like headless chickens now that they've heard this news. But what I actually heard a take from I think it was Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire recently about this, and he made I think a really good point. He said what people are afraid of is not that Elon Musk is going to come and censor the left, because everyone knows he's not like a right-wing extremist.
He's more of a libertarian.
It's clear that he's not, right? Yeah. Exactly. So why would people that are in favor of free speech be upset that someone who is also in favor of free speech is taking over Twitter? Like, it just shows you where their loyalties lie, where their interests lie. Yeah. It is that they're angry that the right is no longer going to be censored.
Yep.
That's what they're upset about. Fear. They won't have the control to censor.
One of the biggest fears is that they're going to bring back Donald Trump, which, I'm like, it's not like I'm like the biggest fan of Donald Trump, but I didn't think he should have been removed from Twitter. They removed a sitting US president and banned him from Twitter. That to me was unprecedented. And he's not the only one. That was
another of those shattering the matrix moments, I think, for me.
Yes, it was. It was.
It was really a funny
when that happened, I'm like, what? People don't realize how much collusion is going on between the media and some of these political powers and some of these world globalist powers. There's so much collusion going on, and you start to see them coordinate together. That's when you start to realize, like, you guys are scared. You guys are scared. And it wasn't just Trump. It was people like COVID skeptics, for instance. Do you remember that time when people were getting banned for saying that that the COVID vaccine doesn't necessarily prevent you from... I could even still get banned as I'm saying this, but people were saying that the COVID vaccine doesn't necessarily prevent you from spreading it. And there were a trail of people that got banned.
Yeah.
Like lots of people.
They were very heavy-handed in their censorship, and their rationale for it at that time was, this is a life and death issue. It's a public health risk. It's a national health risk. You can't say things like that. And call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think what we saw with COVID was laying the groundwork for future censorship. Oh, yeah. So it's like if people
it was a training ground exercise.
You get the public used to something like this, and it wasn't just the government at some point. It was even fellow citizens who were censoring each other and people yelling each other down on Twitter. No, you can't say that. You can't say something like that. And it's really showing you what the future could look like if we get to a point where it's a point of no return, where the people who are dissenters are no longer able to just air their views anymore. It will make it seem as if everybody agrees with the mainstream narrative. Well, in actual fact, a lot of people don't, but they're just afraid to say it.
It's crazy, man.
It looks like everyone agrees with the mainstream narrative, but it's not true.